Paul79 here. I hope you're safe and well. Happy New Year to everyone, all the watchers, and I hope you had a nice Christmas. Welcome back to the EV build series. We're now on part 7. And I know it's been a while since we last spoke, but rest assured I have been doing stuff on the car, although it was delayed slightly for a couple of reasons, one of them being the great British weather. But no, I have got some things done. So in this episode, I'm going to show you an update on sort of all the bits that I've been doing on the car, but the bulk of the video will be about this. Now, this is the T-2C controller. Now, you need one of these to basically talk to the Tesla large drive unit. It's called T-2C. It's by a company called EV Controls, and it's a fantastic piece of kit. It comes from Canada. And what I'm going to show you is how I've managed to sort of wire it all up, because there is a lot you sort of need to know. And I've learned a few things along the way. Mainly, and I'm going to say this right at the start, and I'm sure I will say this again, but you can wire this all up and try and test your Tesla large drive unit, but it won't work unless you have at least 200 volts of battery power going into it, right? Because this is set to work only when there's at least 200 volts. So you may remember on past videos where I sort of simulated a lot of the wiring. You know, I had the high voltage junction box, all the contactors, etc. I had an accelerator pedal, blah, blah, blah. I'll put a picture on so you can, to remind you. So I did all that with the view of being able to sort of get my large drive unit working sort of on the bench, but it doesn't work. Yeah, you need to have the high voltage battery pack in place. But that doesn't really matter sort of for the wiring up though, because you can do a lot sort of beforehand anyway, and you can test whether it works. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope this helps someone. See you later. Bye. So, one of the things that I've quickly discovered from doing this EV conversion is you do need space. You do need space at the back of the car. Now, my garage isn't very big, and with all the bits and bobs I have, the car just fits in. So I needed some more room to sort of work on sort of the battery boxes and the large drive unit out the back of the car. Now, I had an idea, and I hope you like it, but what I have done, I have added a sort of extra shed onto the front of my garage, okay? And this just gives me a little bit more extra room that is sort of protected from the elements. Now, this shed is fully removable. You can see, look, there's one of the, there's a caster wheel there. So basically, I bought a shed, modified it. It's attached to the front of the garage. If we go outside, you can see what I've done. Here it is. It just goes on the front of the garage like this. It's got a nice replica window there. That's not real, but it breaks up the grey. But yeah, it's proved an absolute godsend for me, because it gives me all this space. Got me crane in here now, so I can lift up my LGU and work, you know, and crack on with stuff. So here is, I've finally got my LDU back. So here it is. I've given it a lick of paint to make it look a bit nicer and prettier. So I just painted some of the bits black. But here it is sitting in the Drift Moto subframe. Now, a problem with, well, it's not a problem, but one of the things you need to know is the T-2C, you know, the control unit. It'll only work if the Tesla motor is mounted the right way, you know, the way it came out of the original Tesla. And the problem for us is, originally this Drift Moto subframe, the Tesla LDU is designed to be mounted backwards. So when you go forward, it's actually going in reverse, okay? But it means that the controller doesn't work. So what we had to do is modify the subframe so we can fit the Tesla motor, instead of backwards, we just fit it upside down. And this is what we have here. So this is the LDU upside down. So normally in a Tesla, that bit would be at the front. But what it means is we can use the control unit and everything's fine. So all that the guys at Drift Moto did, they've made a new sort of mounting bracket here, so it comes further over here because previously it was here. They've had to do the same on the rear and do some modifications on the inside. I've also had a limited slip diff fitted to that as well, and new seals and loads of other stuff. So hopefully this should give me plenty more miles. So other things I've done is I've decided to mount my BMS here, the Orion BMS2. It's a big old boy, you see, so I had to sort of find some place to put it. I put my roll cage in just to sort of make sure that there is clearance, and all of this will sort of be covered up with panels, etc. But the idea is yeah, I'll have 3 battery boxes sort of at the rear of the car connecting to the BMS, and then we'll have one long one for the battery box that's in the boot. But yeah, so I mounted that. I had to make a bracket for it, and yeah, that's all good there. So on to the main event. So here's the control unit, right? Okay. Doesn't look much, just plastic. You can mount it on a panel, you can mount it either way. But yeah, this is basically what it is. It connects to the LDU and various other parts of the car via a connector, which I'll show you in a bit. And it communicates to your phone or an iPad, has to be an Apple one, via Bluetooth. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to enclose this in a metal box. Okay, you can mount it on some metal, but don't enclose it, otherwise the Bluetooth signal won't work. So if we go to the connector, so this is what you get. It's called a cinch connector, and there's quite a lot of connections there. But when you get it, it will just be completely blank. Okay. So the first thing I did was, for every one of the connections, I basically added the pin and a wire, and probably made the wires sort of this long here. Maybe probably didn't need to do it that long, but the idea is, you know, I would get the connector wired up, label every pin that I need, and then take it from there. Okay, so as it turns out, there are some that I just didn't need, so I've just chopped them off and sealed them. But that's the first thing that I did. I found that was quite a sort of simple way to get organized with the actual wiring of the connector. You could try and sort of do it by putting in a wire and then hardwiring it to where it needs to go, but I thought it would just be easier to get the connector ready and then do the connecting to the various bits and bobs. Okay, so another thing you need to help wire up the controller is this famous 23 pin connector. Okay, you can buy them online. What they do is they come pre-wired with loads of long wires coming out, 23 pins. You don't necessarily use them all, but this thing, right, goes into this part of the Tesla LDU. Okay, so that connects to that. 4 of the wires that come out of this 23 pin connector goes to, you need to add another connector on here, and this is called the encoder, and that connects, sorry, that's the wiring for the encoder. Now the encoder on the Tesla LDU is on the other side. It's just this little connection here, yeah? So it's just a super seal jobby. So the idea is you plug the 23 pin in there. Some of the wires go off into the car and they connect to the T-2C, but 4 of them I'm just going to run along the back here and connect to the encoder. Now, before I forget, important thing is, there are 4 wires that connect to this. By the way, oh, that's bright. But I can't see anything now. By the way, there is all full wiring diagrams on the EV Control website for this, and it's for various things because the control unit can also work with a small drive unit, etc, etc. So it's all in there. I will put a few diagrams at the end of this video so you can see. Hopefully the guys allow me to do this, but yeah, don't worry too much. It's all written down for you on a piece of paper. So where was I? I still can't see anything. Yeah, so you've got 4 wires here that connect to this seal, but also this cable needs to be shielded. Yeah, you need to put some metal shielding in there to stop any sort of interference coming from the large drive unit. So inside this, although you can't see it, it's basically 4 wires, then they're wrapped in a metal shielding, and then that is also earthed by another wire that comes out of this to basically ground it. And then I've covered it all in special amalgamation tape, and then also put this plastic conduit around it to protect it. Okay, so the control unit I have mounted there in the car, as I said earlier. I just made a plate that I attached to some original Boxster fixings, and then put some riv nuts in there and screwed the controller to it. So that's nice and sturdy. Put the connector back on, so it's all, I shouldn't have to take that off again, to be fair. But basically, then what I have here is a junction box. Now this junction box just basically feeds 12-volt supply direct from the original Boxster fuse box. So I have a wire that runs all along here, it's all hidden, and an earth that comes and connects to the original ignition, an ignition source from the Boxster. So that feeds that. So when I turn the ignition on in the car, it will power up the control unit. I've also got an earthing point there because there are various things that need earthing as well. So that keeps it all nice and neat. On the diagram, you will see that 6 wires that come out of this control unit are designed to, if you want to, have a drive switch. So this is quite a standard EV drive switch, available from Zero EV or Felton, pretty cheap. But I'll warn you now, to wire it up, you need to do it in a special way with a relay. You can't just take the 3 switch wires from the control unit and the 3 ones for the lights and just wire it up like that, because it doesn't work like that. But I will put the diagram at the end of the video. But yeah, so what I have now is the three wires that on the control unit are designed to turn the lights on that say whether you're in park, reverse, whether you're in drive, reverse, etc. are not currently used. I've got a relay here which is part of the wiring for that. But yeah, more on that in a bit. So that's those wires. Another thing that I've also done is on the 23 pin connector. So here there are 2 wires that have to go to your car brake switch. So I have them running through, again, through along here, and they actually, it's these 2 here, I've got red and I've got green, but they connect to my brake switch. So basically when the brake, so then the control unit knows when the brake is on and when it's off, because there's safety, and this will be with most cars anyway, that you can't change the gear from sort of drive, from neutral to drive without your foot on the brake. Yeah, so that's what I've done with the brake wires, so they run along there. I think that's about it really, in terms of what I've done. So these wires have to go to things like chargers and a BMS. These wires will go to the high voltage junction box, the contactors, but the rest marries up to the big 23 pin connector. So what I have here is the wires, all sort of like put in place and, you know, attached. 2 of the wires from the T-2C actually go to your reverse light and your brake light to make them come on when the various things are selected. There's an earthing point here that I've used. But yeah, you know, I've done this all with plenty of sort of slack, so I can drop the control unit down when I need to with it still being attached. Oh, one other thing, accelerator pedal. So on the Boxster, the accelerator pedal wires actually come and connect to this original ECU. So what I've done, again, now this goes to the 23 pin connector, and I've labelled it all up, but basically there is, what is it, a pentometer or something like that. Anyway, there are 6 wires. Get yourself, or I'll put on the end, a Boxster 987 wiring diagram for the accelerator pedal. And you can see, you just marry the wires up to that, and that will make your original accelerator work. So that's all good. So everything I've shown you is sort of all the wiring that I've done in order to sort of make it work insofar that, you know, things show on the screen, etc, etc. But if you're doing the same thing, what you have to do, and there'll be instructions on this on the control unit, is you actually have to speak to the guys at EV Controls, connect it all up to your LDU, and then what they need to do is they need to flash the inverter. Now it's quite a simple process, probably took me about half an hour. Bear in mind the guys are in Canada, so wherever time zone you're in, you know, you want to make sure that they're working. And I recommend basically having a phone or 2 phones, or a phone and an iPad. Have one iPad have one device that's connected to the control unit, like I've got there is an iPad on my dashboard, and then you converse with them via email. Yeah, so it's just handy to have 2 separate things. And the way it is you email them, you say, I'm wired it all up, can you flash the inverter? You have to send your order number to them, and they do some magic, and they will reply back and say, right, now hit this button on the screen on your, in this case, iPad, and they flash this, they flash that, and then eventually it all works. So, but you have to do that before, so there's no point wiring it all up and trying to get it to show on the screen, because it won't work. Okay, so I just thought I'd better get that very important piece of information in. Right, so one other thing is, yeah, the iPad. So you can control a lot of the stuff via the iPad, i.e. you don't need to have a switch like that. But I bought it anyway, so I thought I'd put it in, and I probably will have the switch because I like that. But yeah, so I've got my iPad there. It's connected to a USB port that, again, I had wired in, and again, just connects to the junction box there. But if we get in the car, oh, excuse me. So let's turn the light off. So on the website for EV Controls, there's a video that shows you how you can automate your iPad so that when it's connected to power, which is what I've got, it automatically starts the app. Okay, so if I now, all I've got, bearing in mind right now, is just a 12-volt battery in the front connected. If I switch on the ignition, you can see the app starts. All that beeping is the original Boxster instrument panel. It's nothing to do with this. So yeah, you can see here it's got temperature measurement. We've got 5 volts of power. That's just coming from that battery in there, but you can see it's defaulted to neutral. Now in theory you can touch screen this and change the gear here, but at the moment, and you can see here, the light, the gear selector is switched up. If I try and turn it to say drive or reverse, it goes red and nothing happens there, right? Because you can't do that. You have to have the brake pedal pushed. So if I get my big leg in here, if I push the brake pedal, you see in the middle that light comes on beneath the 0. So that means the brakes are on because the brake switch is working. And now if I wanted to, I could change, oh, I did it there too quickly, change it to reverse. Yeah, I've taken the brake pedal off, I can't change anything, and likewise with the switch here. So brake pedal on, it's gone into drive. All right, so that's how far we've got. And then in terms of the accelerator pedal, you see this bit here, accelerator pedal says 0. If I just hit the accelerator pedal, see the numbers go up and then down. So I know that that's working. So there you go, gang. So I'm really pleased how that's turned out, and I really enjoyed that part of the build. And yeah, so hopefully that video gives you a taster of sort of like what you need to do. By all means, you know, do it in your own way, but you know, that's sort of, you know, how I approach the whole process, and I found it was quite straightforward, really. The best thing I would say is, you know, once you've put the wires into that connector, then start labeling them up. And what you should buy, where is it? You should get one of these little label printers. Don't just use like piece of paper and sellotape and all that. These are fantastic because they print out the little label, and it's sort of like waterproof as well, and it's really sticky. And like, you know, some of those labels I've put on, you know, like 3 months ago, and they're still on there, and they're hard to get off because the last thing you need is, you know, losing the labels. But it's been an absolute godsend. I've been labeling up everything. I've been labeling up my contactors. There you go, that's my negative contactor. It's just so useful. Anyway, I'm blabbering on. So join me for the next episode, where I will probably be talking you through this big biscuit tin of stuff, which is going to be my high voltage junction box, which again is another important part of the build. But yeah, I've just started working on that. So anyway, take care everyone, see you later, bye bye.